Listen to the audiobook Love and Money by O. Henry. Level A1.
This story happened in 1906. It is about Anthony Rockwall and his son Richard. Many years ago, Mr. Anthony Rockwall was a poor, simple man. Now he is a very rich businessman. He owns a soap factory and lives in New York. His son Richard is 22 years old. He has just come back home after college. One morning, Mr. Anthony Rockwall is in his library. He is reading a newspaper. Then he calls Richard. When Richard comes in, Mr. Anthony Rockwall looks at him warmly. "Richard," he says, "how much do you pay for the soap that you use?" Richard is surprised. His father often asks him unusual questions. $6 for a dozen, I think, Dad," he says. "And for your clothes?" "Normally about $60. "You are a gentleman," Anthony says. "You see, many young people who have rich parents spend a lot of money. They buy expensive soap, and they spend about $100 on clothes. You can have as much money as you want, but you don't spend much. That is a sign of a real gentleman. People think that you can be one only if your father and your grandfather were rich. But this is not true. With money, it happens much more quickly. Money has made you a gentleman, and it almost has made me a gentleman too. But there are some things that money cannot do," Rockwall says sadly. "Don't say that. You know I have read a whole dictionary from A to Z. I tried to find things that I cannot buy, but I didn't. Tell me, is there anything money cannot get?" "For example," Richard answers, "money will not make you part of the highest circles of society." "Really?" Anthony asks. "John Jacob Astor was a simple young man, but then he moved to America, earned a lot of money, and became part of the highest circles of society." Richard sighs. "And that is what I want to talk about," the old man says. "That is why I asked you to come in. There is something wrong with you, boy. You have been sad for 2 weeks. Is it your liver? If you have health problems, you can go to the Bahamas in our boat." "You are almost right, Dad, but it is not my liver." "Okay," Anthony says. "So you are in love with some girl? What is her name?" Richard starts to walk up and down the library floor. He doesn't say anything. "Why don't you ask her to marry you?" old Anthony says. "You are rich and good-looking, and you are a good boy. Your hands are clean, and you studied in college." "I haven't had a chance to ask her," Richard says. "Make a chance," Anthony says. "Take her for a walk in the park, or talk to her when she walks home from church." "She is a high society girl, Dad. She is busy every hour and minute of every day. I must have that girl, but I cannot talk to her, and I cannot write to her either." "So all my money cannot get you an hour or two with that girl?" the father asks. "I have waited for too long. She is going to Europe the day after tomorrow, and she is going to stay there for 2 years. Tomorrow, I am going to be with her alone, but just for a few minutes. She will come to New York by train at 8:30 in the evening. I will meet her at the station. Then we will get a taxi and go to the theater. Her mother will be in the theater too. The girl is not going to listen to me in the taxi, nor in the theater, while her mother and friends are around. Your money will not help me with this. We cannot buy time, even 1 minute. There is no hope of getting a talk with Miss Lantry before she goes to Europe." All right, Richard, my boy, old Anthony says. You can go to your club now. I am glad that your liver is fine. But I don't think you are right. You say money won't buy time? Well, of course you cannot buy eternity. But sometimes money is stronger than time. Mr. Anthony Rockwall has a sister, a nice old woman. Her name is Ellen. Richard calls her Aunt Ellen. That night, Aunt Ellen comes to Anthony to talk about Richard. She is worried about him. Richard told me all about it, Anthony says. I told him he can take as much money as he wants, but he doesn't believe in money. Oh, Anthony, Aunt Ellen says, you think about money all the time, but love is much more important. It's a pity Richard did not talk to that girl earlier. I am sure she likes him, but now it is too late. He will not have time to speak to her. All your money cannot make your son happy. At 8 o'clock the next evening, Aunt Ellen takes a very big old gold ring. She gives it to Richard. Wear it tonight, she asks. Your mother gave it to me. It brings good luck in love. Richard's mother died many years ago, so he takes the ring and tries it on his smallest finger. But the ring is still too small for him. Richard puts it in his pocket. Then he calls a taxi and goes to the station. He meets Miss Lantry at 8:32. We mustn't keep my mother and the others waiting, she says. So they get in the taxi and go to the theater. But suddenly, Richard asks the driver to stop. I am sorry, I have dropped a ring, he says. It was my mother's and I don't want to lose it. I will be back in a minute. I saw where it fell. In less than a minute, he gets back into the taxi with the ring. But now, there is a tramway in front of their taxi. The driver cannot go to the left nor to the right. There are cars and carriages everywhere. Why don't you drive on? Miss Lantry asks. We will be late. Richard gets out of the car and looks around. They are in the middle of a big traffic jam. I am very sorry, Richard tells Miss Lantry, but it looks like we are stuck. It is my fault. I stopped the taxi because of the ring and... Let me see the ring, Miss Lantry says. We are already late, and now I don't care. I think theaters are stupid anyway. Later that night, Mr. Anthony Rockwall is reading a book about pirates. Suddenly, Aunt Ellen enters his room. They are engaged, Anthony, she says softly. She has promised to marry our Richard. On their way to the theater, there was a traffic jam. They spent 2 hours in the taxi. And please, Anthony, don't ever speak of the power of money again. His mother's ring helped Richard to find his happiness. He dropped it in the street and got out to take it. And then they got stuck. So Richard spoke to his love and won her heart. Money is nothing compared to true love, Anthony. All right, old Anthony says. I am glad the boy has got what he wanted. I was going to spend as much money as I needed to. But, Brother Anthony, how could money help in such a situation? Sister, Anthony Rockwall says, I am reading a very interesting book. The pirates are on the ship, and the ship is drowning. Could you please leave me alone? The next day, a man called Kelly visits Anthony Rockwall. Well, Anthony says, let's see. I gave you $5,000. I paid $300 more, Kelly says. I gave each taxi driver $5, but the carriages in the tramway were more expensive. And there were also some bicycles. So it took me $5,300 to organize a traffic jam. but it worked out beautifully. What do you think, Mr. Rockwall? Everybody was on time. Everything looked natural. And they stood there for 2 hours. So here you are, Kelly, Anthony says. I am giving you $1,300. $1,000 for your work, $300 for your expenses. Tell me, Kelly, do you like money? Me? Kelly asks. Oh, yes, I really do. Kelly says goodbye and goes to the door, but Mr. Anthony Rockwall has one more question. Did you see, he asks, anywhere in the street yesterday, a little fat boy with no clothes on, with arrows? Kelly is surprised. No, I didn't. If he was without clothes, perhaps the police took him. Well, so Cupid, the god of love, wasn't there, Anthony says, laughing. Goodbye, Kelly.
Enjoyed the story? Hit the like button to support our channel. And now, watch this amazing video.